Black girls can talk. And I, for one, am interested in how to navigate that. So first I want to say welcome, Dr. McCree. And if you would like to say a few words about yourself before we formally get started.
My name is Dr. DaJaneil McCree, and I have a background in health education and promotion. So I primarily do research on Black women as it relates to healthcare services and just promoting better health. But also on the back end, being a Black woman, I'm an advocate for Black women as well.
My first question is, what motivated you to write the book?
Yeah, I'm Black.
Absolutely.
So I think that's a start. I am Black and I am a woman, and those are two very important parts of my identity.
Yes.
I also am a Black woman that has had to navigate white spaces quite frequently. I went to a PWI, predominantly white institution, and so luckily for me, merging from high school, or transitioning, I should say, from high school to college wasn't that bad because I went to a predominantly white high school as well. But I think that really helped me learn exactly what I wrote in this book. So how to just be in the room and make noise without having to be loud. How to just operate, how to talk, how not to talk, what to say, what not to say. All of those things kind of motivated me to write this book because I saw first-handedly how I was affected in white spaces, as well as those around me who didn't necessarily know how to navigate those spaces. So.
Why should we have to learn how to speak in these particular arenas, being Black women?
Oh, we shouldn't have to. That's the unfortunate part about it.
Yes.
We shouldn't have to conform to how other people view us or what they expect from us. The unfortunate part, once again, is that we do have to. And because we are a minority in many different ways. We are a minority because we are Black, we are a minority because we are women. And so with those two things alone, we are just at a disadvantage in general than most people in the world.
Yes. Now, I asked that question on purpose.
Yes.
Because we probably all been through it, being female and even being male in this predominantly white society. So with that in mind, can you share with us some of the tips that help you to get through transitioning from, you said you went to predominantly white schools, transitioning from that arena into the work world and how that affected you?
I feel like originally I unfortunately perpetuated a lot of what was expected of me. I feel like I was doing what people expected of me and not what I wanted. So one thing that I learned is early on is to create boundaries first and foremost, to be assertive. Because when you don't do that, people will just do whatever they want. They'll say whatever they want. They'll, especially in corporate settings, they'll put tasks on you. They may not even be what your job title is or what you're supposed to be doing, but they feel like in a way you're beneath them no matter what your job title is and who you are, simply because you're Black and because you're a woman. So I set boundaries even to this day. I had a conversation with someone yesterday and she was like, well, how do you? I said, I have boundaries. After 5 p.m., I'm not answering an email. I'm not taking a phone call. It can wait. And that is my personal boundary. And so I make sure that I stick to my boundaries and not let people just walk all over me.
Okay. I like that. I'm going to use that as one of the tips. Number one, to set boundaries. Love it. What are some other tips that you can offer out to the viewing audience?
I think it's important to speak up as well. I think we get so used to our voices being silenced that, again, we perpetuate that silencing. So we are uncomfortable saying what we want to say or saying how we feel because we're scared of how that might be interpreted or how someone else may feel about what we're saying. So we just don't say anything. But we can't do that. Yeah. We can't do that. So absolutely learn how to say it in the right way. And there's no right or wrong, right? But what I mean is by having a professional tone.
Yes.
And when you're conveying your message, but if you don't convey your message, no one will hear it, right? So you have to say what you need to say to be heard.
Okay, so can you share with us a little bit about your book? If you could read a couple of pages or a page or so, that would be grateful.
Okay.
So that we can get the experience from the author herself. Oh my God, in her voice. Okay, well, this is thrilling.
I'm actually going to share, who doesn't have a book in their hands, I'm going to share the book real quick so people can follow along if they want it. I'm actually going to read from the first chapter, which is identity, but I'm going to start with the second part of that, which is why identity matters. So that is on page, let's get to it. That's on page 5. And let me know when you want me. Y'all there? Okay. So why identity matters? Identity matters for several reasons. First and foremost, our identity shapes our sense of self and how we perceive ourselves. It is a reflection of our personal history, experiences, beliefs, values, and characteristics. Our identity is an integral part of who we are as individuals. Identity also matters because it influences how others perceive and interact with us. People often make assumptions and judgments based on someone's identity, whether it's their race, gender, sexuality, or other aspects of their identity. These assumptions can lead to stereotyping, bias, discrimination, or unfair treatment. Therefore, being able to define and communicate your own identity can help challenge and correct these misconceptions. Furthermore, identity is closely tied to belonging and community. It allows us to connect with others who share similar experiences, backgrounds, or perspectives. It provides a sense of solidarity and support, especially in situations where we may feel marginalized or misunderstood. By embracing and celebrating our identity, we can build stronger connections with others and foster inclusivity and diversity. So I won't read the next part, but I go into speaking about privileges and disadvantages. So again, we are all at a disadvantage simply because we're Black. And I identify as a Black cisgender woman researcher. And people wouldn't necessarily understand why I include researcher in that.
Yes.
I also, in my identity, it's very important to say that I am from Detroit. Because that is a whole thing in itself. And if you know, you know. But I include researcher in my identity because it's not because I have a PhD. It's not because of the accolades. It's because of what it took for me to get there, and the passion that I have behind the research that I do. Again, my research is among Black women, specifically Black women who are queer, Black women who and or maybe living with HIV, and or have experienced intimate partner violence in their lifetime. And so it's important to me to include researcher in my identity because it is what drives me every single day. And so as far as privileges and disadvantages go, a lot of people think I'm privileged because I have a PhD, because I'm a researcher, but y'all don't know what it took for me to get here. Y'all don't know that I almost didn't go to college. Y'all don't know what all I have gone through in my life that should have stopped me from getting here. And so I talk in the next part of that chapter about how to make those privileges and or disadvantages work for you and how they try to work against you.
So what entailed the research for doing this book?
My life, actually, I don't.
So it's based solely on, not solely, but based on what you have experienced.
Yes, and it's just real life, every day. Like I said, from my research, what I do, but also I include a lot of anecdotes. A lot of this is what has happened to me. This is what people have said to me. This is how I responded. This is how I used to respond, and how I learned how you have to be honest. I used to take it there, but I also had to realize that didn't get me anywhere. So I had to just kind of, I don't like to say change. I like to say revise.
Yes.
I had to revise how I came off or my tone or things like that.
So you could get the Detroit side or a PhD side.
It depends on what day of the week it is. And it depends on the conversation. Absolutely. I try to keep the Detroit side in, but people try it. So.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I love that. I'm from Joliet. That's why I said it. I know what you're talking about.
Yes. People definitely try it. So you gotta let them know who you are.
Okay, so being as intelligent as you are, working in the work field, and knowing your background and what you went through, I'm sure you got tested often. I'm sure you had to use Detroit sometimes, and others, the more PhD side. What was the most difficult part of that when you had to go into these different characters?
I don't think, and I say that in this book, I don't think code switching is a bad thing, but sometimes it's hard because I want one of those sides to come out. And sometimes that other side doesn't allow for it to. So it's hard to navigate in certain spaces when, again, something is expected of you, but you have in your own voice what you want to say and how you actually feel versus how people make you feel, right? So to kind of, because you talked about my intelligence and things like that, like people, I'm expected to do so much.
Yes.
I'm expected to do so much, but sometimes I just don't have it. I just don't have it and I can't give it to you. So it's hard to be assertive sometimes and to say that, I don't get this, or like, especially I work at an institution, at a university, so people, especially there, because everyone has a PhD, right? They expect for me to know it all. And I'm like, but I just got here. Hold on, wait. We got to learn a few things. Help me.
Yeah.
So it's very hard to know when to turn it off sometimes. Because I'm not always going to be Dr. McCree.
Exactly. You have to live your life and be who you are, and there should not have to be a separation.
Yes.
I completely get it. So without saying the institution,
right?
And when you said that you first started out, help me, was it predominantly white, and did they eventually help you, or are you still making that transition?
I'm very grateful to work at a predominantly white institution, but work with all Black women.
Okay.
I'm very blessed too. So because of that, I feel like my experience is a little different. So I personally haven't experienced microaggressions or anything like that in the space that I'm in currently, but that is because of my environment.
Okay.
So
what advice would you give to other individuals that are in that situation now and how to navigate it? Because we all got that other side in us. Right. So what advice would you give to us to try to balance it out, or just say go and get rolled up? You
definitely have to find your community. So I talked about, luckily being able to be around these other Black women who have been through what I've been through. I think that's important in any space. To not even just Black women, but people who know what you're talking about. People that can relate to you, whether they're a man or a woman, but that share your same experiences to just like rally up together. I think that's a world of a difference. And that's helpful within itself, because sometimes you need somebody to be a cheerleader to say, hold on, don't say that. I said one of my friends' text messages all the time, like, should I press send? Okay. And you can do that with emails, you can do that with just about anything, but sometimes you have to check yourself, because sometimes it is you. So you have to make sure you're not the one that's coming off in the wrong way. And I am a firm believer in I said what I said. So say what you have to say and keep it moving, but make sure that the impression that you said is not one that's negative. So. Okay.
So this is an example that I will ask advice on, because I'm very direct. I don't like small talk. Okay. And they think that aggression, I don't care what you did on the weekend. What do you need from me right now? Right. So I know I have to think about it, tone it down. I'll be smiling. How can I help to navigate that better to where it's like, just get to the point?
Well, you definitely can't say just get to the point. So let's start there. I think you have to do some mental breathing. Within yourself, you have to just kind of listen out your head and while they're talking. You have to be getting yourself together because it is hard for you to put on that hat and be like, I don't like small talk, but I'm at work. So that's hard to do, but you have to look at your surroundings, realize where you are, and take those mental breaks. While someone's talking to you, you kind of have to just breathe in.
Okay, so I do deep breathing.
Okay.
I don't do it anymore, but they know me. It's like, don't mess with it. Just go ask her what you need to ask her, let her get it done. But I would do deep breathing and be like, here she comes with these stupid.
But you know what, with that too, maybe it's something you can do after that
conversation. I'm a trainer, so yes, there's something we definitely don't do. Come on, sister, let's go do that. Okay. Let me train you right.
Okay.
Yes, I do that, but it's like, you should come again, Lord have mercy. Okay, so I would like to open it up to the audience if you guys want to ask any questions or give some feedback. Don't make it all be on me.
My question is,
Yes.
how has the book been received so far by Black readers and by white readers? What's the response? What's the response you've received so far?
You know what? I haven't had any white feedback.
It's coming.
It's coming, and it's scary, but I'm prepared because I've been doing this my whole life. Right? I've been Black my whole life.
Yes.
So I'm prepared for it. I will say that I personally feel like it's probably not received as well because, even the title, I put it all out there, white spaces. You don't want to hear, most white people don't want to hear us talking about what we do in white spaces or how to combat them, even though this book is for allies as well. So it is for white people who want to know how to help Black women navigate these spaces. But unfortunately, but you have to be an ally to get it. You have to be an ally to want to read it. So I will briefly say I've had an experience with someone I was working with to promote this book. And I think it just boiled down to what we were putting out there. You may not agree with it. And that wasn't vocalized, but you can tell if somebody not really, when they're not really rocking with what you said, or, because imagine being white and having to promote a book that you don't agree with or don't understand, right? Mm-hmm. So that is the only experience that I can speak to. And again, it wasn't verbalized, but I felt the undertone. Mm-hmm. I felt it. So that's a great question. I'm gonna keep a mental note when I do get some feedback to see how it is being received. But so far, I've had a lot of support from both sides. So.
How do you go about making yourself heard? Black girls can talk. How do you go about making yourself heard when you're in that white environment and you say something, it's passed over, and somebody else then says the exact same thing you said, and their idea is, oh, that's so smart, we should go with that. So, how do you do with those situations?
Great question.
I for sure say, I just said that. And that's not rude, because I did just say that.
Right.
So I don't know why it got bypassed. Or, sometimes I might say, correct me if I'm wrong. I know I'm not. Maybe I may have missed it. Or maybe what I said was misinterpreted. But all of those are ways to say, I just said that. maybe what I said was misinterpreted, or maybe, some of those languages to kind of, like I said, revise what you're saying. But I think it's important, especially in those instances, because people will take your idea and act as if it is brand spanking new. They are the first ones to think about it. You probably, when you said it, weren't the first one to think about it, right? But definitely don't let anybody, especially sitting there, don't let anybody play in your face. Because that's playing in your face. You just took my idea and said it as if it were yours. So I would definitely let the room know. I just said that.
That was a great question.
That was a great question. Absolutely.
So among that, what was the most challenging part about writing the book itself?
I won't have one. So backstory, I wrote the book in 5.5 weeks.
Wow.
So I started in May 15th, and I finished whatever 5.5 weeks is from that. So it wasn't challenging. For one thing I will say is maybe timing, because again, I give so much to my position. But that wasn't hard for me to do because I'm passionate about both. So I would get off work and just write. And I am spiritual, so I just prayed every day to give me the words to write. I don't even know what I said. I had to read it like 3 or 4 times before I went to publishing because I was just writing, literally. I don't know. I prayed, God gave me the words to put on this paper, and He did. So I didn't find any challenges. And I also fasted a couple times while, so I started in May. I fasted in the first week of June and then again in July. So that was 2 different times while I was writing. So it just cleared my mind and allowed me to write. So it wasn't hard. And that sounds crazy to say, especially because I did it 5.5 weeks, but.
No, it's not crazy, it was ordained.
I absolutely believe that because this idea didn't come from me anyway.
Yeah.
Like I had been, again, just transparency. I had been working on a whole another book for three years.
Okay.
3 years. And the night before I said I was going to start writing again, I heard, no, put this out first. And the title, I didn't have an idea for this book. I didn't have a title, and it was all given to me. So I absolutely ordained.
Did it help you heal while you were writing the book, or was there something to heal from with this situation?
No, that's a great question. I don't think I healed, but I think that it allowed me to finally tell my story.
Okay.
Because I know I wrote it about people speaking up, but when it comes to me telling my story, I don't often do that unless you're really close to me because everybody has their own issues. Everybody has their own life. No one really cares what other people are doing. At least I find, which is very unfortunate. So I rarely talk about me. Like even when somebody say, "Oh, you're doing so much," I'm like, not really. Like I always downplay what I'm doing or my life in general. But this allowed me to be real and authentic and really, really talk about what I've been through. On a smaller scale, because this book wasn't about the struggles, so I'm gonna do something else about the struggles. But I was able to talk through, I guess, not struggles in navigating my spaces, but my real life experiences.
Okay. Does anyone else have any questions?
I do.
Yeah.
Okay, so I went to grad school for film, and I wrote a short film about black girls, like black dancers, and them having natural hair and how they dance instructor. She was a white woman and she wanted them their hair to be straight, but they were like against it. I wrote the film. My instructor wasn't like the ending because the dance instructor in the screenplay was the villain. So he basically tried to change my ending to make it to where she's not the villain and that she's trying to help them, but that's not the story that I wanted to tell, or the point of view from my perspective of how I see you guys or whatever. So what advice would you give to anyone that's like dealing with that same issue?
In specific about the hair or somebody trying to...
But basically trying to change your narrative, your story.
Yeah. That's definitely happened to me a couple times. And even recently, I just think about work, and like I said, I have to be assertive when it comes to boundaries and things like that. It's hard to do because, especially when you're in a lower position than someone, you feel like you have to do what someone else is telling you to do. In that situation, you probably couldn't take your ideas somewhere else because you were in school. I think it's about having an open and transparent conversation with that individual to just say, no, I understand, I appreciate your feedback, and I hear you, but this is what I am passionate about. This is what I want to do. And again, I don't know your situation fully, so I know as an example, like I don't know if you were writing a thesis or what the project was.
It was a screenwriting class, but it was a screenwriting class, but I was going to use it as my final project.
Okay.
So I didn't I already graduated, but I didn't end up going with that project. I just joined somebody else who was like, I can't tell the story, I don't want to tell the story.
Yeah.
But that's what I was like on. Like I'll do it someplace else.
But what's unfortunate about that is that someone else told you couldn't tell your story, so you did, right? So in that situation, I don't know if because you were in a class and it wasn't like you had like a committee or you couldn't find one person. But did you have a conversation with that person? I'm sorry, let me start there.
With the instructor? I did. I just left it and I was just like, I'll just do it on my own time. Like
no, because and that's what, going back to me saying, having an open and honest conversation with that individual, because that conversation could have changed the whole trajectory of your life.
Mm-hmm.
You never know, right? Like, if you would have done that project, if there's no telling what could have come out of that. And not to say that the other project you did wasn't beneficial to your life as well. But I think that had you just don't know what could have come out of having that conversation. So definitely, if you're in that situation again, be transparent with the person who's on the receiving end and letting them know exactly, like, again, this is my passion. If I can't do it, I won't do it. But I'm gonna do it still. Like, I won't do it with you, but it's gonna happen. And so then that person gonna have to look back and be mad because that same idea they could have had their name on or say that they helped you do it, didn't. But now that's okay because you can get all the glory. So I think you should still do it if you haven't. If you haven't still been working on it, you should do it.
Thank you.
Oh, I know she's gonna do it.
I hope so.
So hearing that, another tip that I'm taking from this is find a balance first to speak, and then take that opportunity to speak your mind, and how someone else receives it is not what you focus on.
Mm-hmm.
It's how you present it is the main focus. And as long as you're presenting it with respect, and if they can't respect it, walk.
Listen, and we just gonna get real.
Yes.
How someone else perceives whatever you say or whatever you do, that has nothing to do with you.
Absolutely.
All you can do is do what you can do, which is saying or doing what you did.
Yes.
Again, being respectful. But if someone receives that as disrespect, then that's on them to take it with them and themselves only. But just I can always go back to saying, I know that I did the right thing. I know that I said the right thing. So however you interpret it, however you felt about it, pray on it. I don't know what to tell you. But I know I am okay with myself at the end of the day, and I can feel good about what was done or said because I didn't come at you sideways. I didn't call you out your name. I didn't curse you out. I didn't do any of those things. So good luck. I don't know.
Detroit stayed out the road.
I try to tuck it back. I told you. I try to tuck it, but literally, it is up to them and them only to figure out. They got to process those feelings on their own.
So have you, and this will be my last question, have you ever had the experience of, say, your superior is Black, but they act, I'm trying to word this nicely because it's being filmed, but they follow the lead of the superior, the white people.
Yes. Yes.
And that puts you in a tangle because this is your boss. What would you do in that situation?
Again, where I currently am, yes, I will. Where I currently, let's just in case the fans are watching. Where I currently am, I am blessed, like I said.
Absolutely.
So that is not the case in my current position. I have had that in other positions where I was right under someone very high in the company, a Black woman. And it was like, ooh, we recorded.
Well, we're going to skip that. We'll talk about that later. We won't get nobody in trouble, but we understand where we're going and we understand the tips that we need to do. So we're going to stop that one because nobody want to go to jail.
Oh, the feds, I mean just like people.
Yeah.
Who wouldn't, not actual federal.
They're still jail. It's still jail because they still could be watching.
They could.
So we're not giving any ammunition to anyone.
You're right.
There we go.
Amen.
So, do we have any other questions? No? You sure? Because we're going down. 1, 2, 3. No. Okay. I just want to say thank you so much for sharing and being open and honest and just yourself. And I absolutely loved it. And I thank you all for joining us. And we wish you all a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.